Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy Chris Shule, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, tell your mom, drop us some comments. You know what the deal is. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, much to my dismay, Eva Black was arrested this week. Now, in case you're not aware, Eva Black is the lovely lass that decided to disobey the government mandates and crossed over a checkpoint. And she was confronted by an officer who asked where she was going, and she simply wanted to know why she was being stopped, which is actually her right. And the officer thought she was too much trouble, so decided to let her go. And Eva got to leave the quarantine area. And it's interesting watching the reaction on the interwebs. It seems so many Australians are calling her selfish, calling her a COVID denier, when all we know is that once she recorded the thing, she was planning this as a media stunt. She's obviously someone that clearly understands her rights from a classical context, and she wants to make a stand. But the media is so quick to call her a conspiracy theorist, a COVID denier. Anyway, let's have a look at this video by Channel 7 and see how she's portrayed in the Australian media.
To breaking news now, and the COVID denier involved in a checkpoint stunt has been arrested. The details are still coming in. Tegan Doling, it was a dramatic arrest.
Yeah, it was, Mitch. The 28-year-old has almost been on the run for a week. Police have been looking for her because they've been wanting to speak to her about the breach at the checkpoint at Bunyip. And today she was spotted while driving through Carlton on Princes Street at around 2 p.m. There they pulled her over. They wanted to ask her about the breach, and they also asked to see her ID and her licence. But again, she refused to hand it over, and that's where things started to get a little bit dramatic. They asked her to wind down her window, also to step out of the car. Again, she refused, so they actually had to smash her window, and that's when she was arrested. She was taken back for questioning, and it's understood that she has been released, but she's expected to be charged with traffic offences, including failing to produce her licence and the breach of the checkpoint. Now, we have seen, Mitch, that she has boasted online on her social media that she doesn't regret anything, and we know that she also was a guest speaker at a conspiracy meeting earlier.
Conspiracy meeting. I love the terms that these reporters use. They call her a COVID denier, and she said nothing about denying this virus. She simply just disobeyed an officer's demands to provide information for where she's going, and she clearly believes in her rights. And then she's been called a conspiracy theorist purely because she believes in freedom. It's like all journalists can really do is use slanderous terms, because they know that so many of these people that are standing up for what's going on are within their right. What, this idea that you think it's somehow not right to have a government just forcibly mandate things and tell you to go along because it's doing it in the interests of security? I mean, what's the point of having laws? What's the point of having any kind of system of government or a rule of law, or constitution for that matter, if all it takes is one person to get into power and just make a new law and do whatever he wants and say, well, I believe that, well, mate, I feel like we'll all be right, mate, but, we all got to work together. We're all in this together, so, yeah, gonna have to have you locked down for 18 months, mate. So check this out. A few months back, now, our Prime Minister decided to dismantle COAG, this coalition. I think it's Coalition of Australian Government or something like that, where all of these different representatives come together in order to decide certain policies. But our great leader decides to dismantle this entire thing because this COVID situation is far too dangerous, and therefore he now becomes our almighty king, ruler. So essentially, we now live in a dictatorship. But of course, the Prime Minister can do anything he wants, right? I mean, is this the kind of system that people are fine living in because they're fearful of what might happen to them? And because the government tells you to do something. Simon says, I want you to take off your clothes. So we take off our clothes. Oh, wait, this is reasonable. I want you all to wear face masks. I want you all to stay in this suburb and never leave because there are all these cases. We're doing lots and lots of testing. We have all these cases of people that are sick. They have COVID. And even though the large majority of these people won't get sick, won't even have any serious symptoms for that matter, and only, less than 0.2% of people are actually dying of this thing, well, we need to enact these tough draconian measures now. And there's this idea that seems to be supported by so many Australians that Simon gets to do whatever it wants. Simon tells Eva that you're not allowed to walk past this imaginary line here. Otherwise, we'll detain you. I mean, this is ridiculous. Doesn't anyone care about freedom of movement, these rights that we're supposed to have? I mean, this is a fundamental constitutional right of Australians. This stuff has not been enacted ever, as far as I'm aware. Let's just lock up a group of people for several months, for several years. And I don't care what the justification is. If this is Australia's understanding of rights and freedoms, that essentially you have rights until we say you don't, then that's an oxymoron. I mean, the whole idea of rights is that they are unalienable. You can't just say, oh, wait a sec, you have a right to move around if you're not harming anyone. I mean, these are basic natural rights. But, because of what might happen, because we're trying to avert harm from coming, we're going to suspend your rights. And then we have people like Eva, who's being incredibly courageous here. I mean, these are the times we're in. A few hundred years ago, we would have looked at people like this and looked at them as being heroes. I mean, this is the history of the United States. This spirit of resistance. I mean, so many of your ancestors, whether you're Scottish, you're Irish, or I would say pretty much all of modern civilization has been created because people resisted tyranny. We have the freedoms that we do because people time and time again have said, look, well, we want to keep you guys safe, so we're going to take over your country and make sure that this stuff is kosher. And then a few people have said no. They decided to stand on the river of truth and say, no, I will not go ahead with your mandates. You frickin' move, bro. Don't tell me to move. This is my home. This is my place. It's resistance. I know my rights, but it's always under this idea of, well, we're trying to achieve something. We're trying to make this place safer. So, we're just gonna apply some tyrannical measures here. Just a little bit of slavery, just a sprinkling of slavery, sprinkling of genocide. But we're doing it in order to protect you. And people are so quick to look at this as being necessary because they're afraid. And fear is the gateway to tyranny. And it really is fascinating just going through the comments, looking at what, generally speaking, Australians think of Eve Black. Most of the comments that I've seen haven't been altogether that positive. Whereas she's someone that is exercising her natural rights. But these journalists have decided to just call her a COVID denier, call her a conspiracy theorist. And to make things worse, there is no truth at the moment. I just put up a video the other day, just yesterday, just speaking about a certain drug, which I will not mention the name of, how it has been shown clinically to cure a virus, which I won't mention the name of. I mean, you've all seen this. This was all over the news the other day. But it immediately gets taken down from Facebook. Immediately gets taken down from YouTube. Anytime you put down a narrative that runs contrary to the establishment, it gets taken down. And this is the world that we're in. There are people that question the narrative, but they're called COVID deniers. Simply because they think, well, maybe this thing is not quite as dangerous as you're saying it is. Or people that believe, you know what, I don't even care about the stats. And you know what, I don't. If this was a virus that had a 99% mortality rate, now granted, I'd probably be a little more shaken up, but my arguments would not change a damn bit. Because fundamentally, I believe in freedom. Freedom is not contingent on your safety. You don't get to say, my freedoms don't exist just because you're scared. It doesn't work like that. And granted, I know most of the world thinks this is a horrible idea, it seems, because they seem to be lacking courage. This is something so many of our ancestors have. It's what is synonymous with this country: justice, our Constitution. But everyone seems to be so willing to let go of this. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think. Drop us some comments. What do you think of Eve Black? Boom shakalaka. Signing out, Chris Schul. Ow! What do you think about Eva Black?
I think she's a bit of an idiot.
Idiot? I think she's standing up for something that we all deserve to cherish. Our right to move around wherever we want to. And the governments, as much as they try to abuse our natural rights, we got to stick to our guns, you know? Otherwise,
what does this day become?
Otherwise, what next?
Like,
First mass,
I was thinking
then what, mandatory vaccines?
Next thing you know,
then what?
Political debate. Oh,
I mean, can the government ever go too far to protect its people? I want you spending all of your time at home, Jody. I don't want you ever stepping out. Only your husband's able to go and work. You have to stay at home for the rest of your life, and it's order to protect you. Is that too far?
No, that's fine. That sounds good. I can just chill at home, become a housewife, and do nothing.
You say that, but I think it's a little disingenuous.
I'm joking.
I know. It's like, how far are you willing to submit to the rule of your government?
Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant-heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course.
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.